Hello, good evening. Good evening, everyone. I know that we've got a lot of activity going on, but everyone who's kind of up and about, if we could take our seats for a few minutes. Let me introduce myself. I'm Adrienne Goolsby, and I'm the CEO of the Richmond Redevelopment and Housing Authority. And I would like to welcome you to our first official kickoff planning session to engage the community in the East End transformation effort. We have some very important people with us tonight who have been a part of supporting this effort from the beginning. And I wanted to let them know that we appreciate the time and the effort that they have put into this initiative, and that this is something that is a priority for the city of Richmond. It is a priority for the Richmond Redevelopment and Housing Authority, and it's a priority for this community. We have worked tirelessly and hard with charrettes and other planning sessions, but this is the official day where we actually announce our developer that was selected, the master developer, and we begin to engage the community in a continuous process of planning so that we can implement and create a new development for this area. And so we are extremely excited. First of all, I would like to acknowledge that we do have introductions by the mayor of Richmond, which is Mayor Dwight Jones, who will be joining us shortly. And I would also like to welcome our city council members, Councilwoman Newbill and Councilwoman Robertson, if they would like to say a few words, because without them and without the support of the city, we couldn't make this possible. I would like to also recognize our residents and our resident tenant leaders, as well as we have school board officials and other partners who are here in the audience today. So we appreciate you. We know that we have a great turnout here, and this is what we expect to keep the momentum going throughout the next 6 to 12 months while we're planning this wonderful, vigorous community. Right now, I'd just like to open up for a few comments from Mayor Jones, if you would come and join us. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Adrienne, and it's always wonderful to see so many people coming out to participate and to be involved in developing our community. That means that everybody will be in the loop, everybody will be informed, and that the end result will be something that all of us will have taken part in. I'm very happy to be here tonight to declare that we are officially kicking off Churchill North, and that this transformation is an opportunity for the city to make good on its commitment during this administration to provide mixed income housing and to provide excellent schools and to provide community centers and to provide an opportunity for everybody in the city of Richmond to have equal chances at success, equal chances at employment, equal chances for us to build the best Richmond. And so tonight we're about moving from vision to development. And you may have noticed that you're sitting at tables, which means you're not going to be lectured to tonight, but that we're going to ask you to give us your best thoughts and to give us your best ideas and to be a part of developing this new community that all of us are going to be so proud of. And so what I'd like to ask you to do tonight is to give us your commitment and to give us your participation and to determine tonight that you'll be with us not only tonight, but throughout this entire process as we seek to redevelop and transform not only this area, but other areas in the city. During the process of selecting the master developer, I was very intent upon wanting a master developer that was mission driven. I didn't want to have a developer that just wanted to put up houses or to deal in bricks and mortar. But we're in the business of transformation of communities, transformation of people, and I think that we have the raw elements of what we need in order to get that accomplished. So thank you for being a part of this process. Thank you for coming out, and please make the commitment to stick with us through the entire process. God bless you.
Thank you, Mayor Jones, and thank you for your continued support. I would like to open the floor if Councilwoman Newbill or Robertson would like to say a few comments.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's a great day in the district, Mr. Mayor, is it not? This is just a wonderful opportunity. We've been talking about the mayor and Councilwoman Robertson about transformation in our community now for a couple years at least. And one of the things several things that were very critical in that discussion. As we talked about community transformation, we talked about community engagement, we talked about community conversations, we talked about the community developing a shared vision for what we would like to see in terms of the revitalization of this community that starts from Creighton all the way down and straight over to Wickham. And so I am just very appreciative that we've kept that commitment to the community to have the kind of engagement that you'll have the opportunity to be a part of this evening. And I'm looking forward to this Mr. Mayor, and I know you think that the other districts are the best district, but I'm looking forward to this being the absolute best district in the city of Richmond because of this kind of engagement, this kind of shared visioning, and this kind of growth that we're all looking for and excited about along the 9 Mile Road, 25th Street Commercial Corridor, starting from here straight over to Wickham. So I'm thanking all of you who are here, and I'm thanking you not for just coming this evening, I'm thanking you for your commitment to stay the course. Ms. Goolsbee has said to us, this is going to be about a 12-month, give or take, 12, 18-month period of time, and that means that we're going to have to dig in so that at the end of this process, we see something. We see something in terms of a design that is reflective of what we would all like to see in a revitalized, transformed community that bespeaks housing and schools and green space and jobs and lots of amenities along the corridors and on and on. And so I am excited. You all don't seem quite as excited as I am, but I am absolutely excited and I'm looking forward to it under your leadership, Ms. Goolsbee, and the developers. Some of us have seen some of the possibilities that we can entertain. It will not be verbatim for us. We can't just layer anything on top of our, but we've seen and we have some idea, and so we're excited. So those things that I'm very excited about, I'm not noted for being brief about, but I have folks who give me the high sign. And so again, I just really want to say thank you for engaging the community in this process. Thank you for community transformation that we're all waiting for and looking forward to. And thank you for your commitment to continuing to be a part of this effort.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. The mayor just asked me to please tell you that he loves the 6th District best. Just joking. He really said he loves all the districts. But this is a fabulous afternoon. We are grateful to the mayor. We are grateful to the Housing Authority for the concerted effort that has been made to move this agenda forward. I know a lot of times we make great promises about things like revitalizing certain sectors of our communities and our neighborhoods, and sometimes you just think, is it ever going to happen? Because we talk about it forever. But I want to say, Richmond is really doing great things. I mean, sometimes I listen to the news and the mayor makes as many as 2 and 3 press conferences a day, and sometimes it's just overpowering the great things that are happening in the city of Richmond, and all of us should be really excited. I just left touring MLK Junior High School, you know, it's just fabulous when you go out and look at the wonderful things that are being done in our communities. You know, we've done a lot to develop downtown over a long period of time, and we're still committed to that. But I tell you, I am just elated And I especially want to thank Mr. Mayor for your leadership and your commitment and your dedication to these neighborhoods and to making a transformation and bringing about the kinds of things that all communities in the city of Richmond deserve. So I'm not going to take up any more of the time. I'm kind of like Dr. Newbill as well. You know, we don't know how to shut up sometimes when we get excited about these things. But we look forward to a wonderful afternoon and continue to work with you as a partner throughout the entire process. And thank you all for coming out.
Thank you. So we're going to get started with the next phase of our presentation. And we are so excited. We're not just excited because we're going to have a chance to revitalize this community, but we're really excited because we've got some experts on our team. They're called the community builders. And as the mayor had stated, they are developers with a mission and with a purpose. And they have a history of doing this and ensuring that when we mean we're going to include the community and revitalize the community and engage the community in that planning process, that it actually takes place. And so we are so excited that our master development team is here today. We're going to start off with Rob Fossey and Steve Kearney, who are going to talk about the whole entire process as well as in the context of choice neighborhoods. So please welcome them. You will see them all of the time, and they will be a permanent fixture along with the rest of the development team throughout this process. So please give them a round of applause.
Thanks, Adrian and Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Robertson, Councilmember Newbill. It is a real pleasure to be here tonight at the start of the transformation process for the East End. I want to go through, well, number one, I want to make sure that I adhere to the mayor's very wise words at the beginning, that this is not a lecture. We want to introduce ourselves, but we want to really jump into a process, and mainly we want to hear from you. So we want to use the bulk of the time tonight to get real feedback and engagement from the community, because at the end of the day, these transformation processes are not for us, they're not for the planners, they're actually for the neighborhoods themselves. The purpose tonight is really to begin a process. I hope that we'll look back on this day some years from now and say this is when the change began. I remember sitting in that room that somewhat hot July evening and listening to these folks talk about this. And I know that many of you in this room have been engaged in processes like these before, and they've been important, and we've learned a lot. But the difference about what we're starting tonight is it is intended to lead down the road to real development. This is connected to physical and social redevelopment that will help alleviate poverty and create real mixed income communities here in the East End. So a little bit about TCB. We are, in fact, as Adrian mentioned, I should say, it's great to have those wonderful words, but we went through a fairly rigorous process to get selected, I want everybody to know. And there was some stiff competition, but there are some things that separate TCB from others in this business, all of whom do fine work, but we are a nonprofit, and we are mission driven, and that means that at the end of the day, to the extent that we do well in one particular project, the resources the revenue that we gain in that project is simply plowed into the next project and not into someone's pocket. And you know that is a big difference. But beyond that, we actually started off about 50 years ago in the South End neighborhood of Boston as a typical CDC. We started our life as a neighborhood-based developer, and we grew and we expanded and we took on ever-increasing challenges, such that we are now in 14 states and the District of Columbia, and we specialize in working at scale in urban communities that others have written off. But we see strength and opportunity where others see challenges and problems. And it's no accident that we are here in Richmond at this time, because the kind of commitment that the mayor, in his State of the City speech, addressing head-on, alleviating poverty as the #1 agenda item, with Councilmember Robinson, Councilmember Newbill, they came and did site visits to some of our, they did some real hard fact-checking on us before throwing their support behind us and being here tonight. With the new leadership at RRHA, this is a moment where real change is possible in Richmond, and that's why we are so delighted to be here. So, these slides are just a few examples of the kind of projects that we have engaged in that are somewhat similar, but the truth is every city, every neighborhood, every opportunity is unique. And the reason to be here today is because the plan that emerges for the East End has to reflect the particular opportunities and aspirations of the residents of the East End, first and foremost. It's not to replicate what we have done in Hartford here at Dutch Point, although this is a similar circumstance. It's a fairly close to downtown neighborhood that has long suffered from disinvestment, and you can see the physical change. Adrian can come up here and talk chapter and verse about Oakwood Shores in Chicago, formerly on the south side, home to some of the most dense and troubled public housing in the country, and not far from President Obama's house, as it happens. And we are in a multi-phase Hope 6 engagement there. It has engendered a range of rental, senior projects, home ownership, and urban Walmart. The entire neighborhood over the last 10 years is unrecognizable from where it used to be, and I think Adrian would admit. But again, what you see is the physical. Some of you had a chance a few weeks ago to join us on a tour of Broad Creek. I would suggest that physically, what was in Norfolk before in that neighborhood, Roberts Village and Granby, was not terribly dissimilar from what you might see driving around the East End. Those of you who went through Broad Creek, who toured some of the units, who talked to some of the residents, understand that the change there, the physical change we can all see, but the quality of life, the opportunity, the enriched services that we were able to bring to bear, the partnering that we've done with some of the best-in-class service providers has not only changed the physical appearance, but it is changing lives. And at the end of the day, we're not in the housing business. We're not in the real estate development business. We're in the community development business. And we measure our success by the change in lives and in neighborhoods. And that's a much different bar to climb over than just changing the way things look. The team that we've assembled here to begin working with you all is one that represents national expertise and local knowledge. So on the team that helped us shape our initial approach is Bert Pinnock, who's joined us here tonight, and he represented at the time BAM Architects and also Storefront. And so that local perspective has really shaped our response and will continue to. As well, Derek McDaniel from North Star Advisors is a key team member providing real local expertise and insight, and will continue to do so with us as well. Here you see this is actually a partial list of the partners that wanted to sign up with us in the recent choice planning grant application. And it represents, I think what we found is there's an enormous outpouring of talent and effort and compassion within Richmond to want to be a part of a solution. A lot of those efforts are happening in silos. They're important, they're having impact, but part of what choice, the federal program that we hope to be able to access to help us along here, part of what it requires is that we begin taking a lot of these great individual and programmatic responses and finding systemic solutions, finding out how we can marry the best programs that are in health and education, job training, and a host of rich services, health and education in particular. And how do we create a whole that is greater than the sum of the parts? And that's what Hope 6 was a great program, and it helped make large-scale change in urban communities, but a lot of that change was physical. And what choice requires is that the change marry the physical and the human and social. And so we will talk a little bit about that planning process tonight, which we are beginning formally here. And leading that effort is one of our key partners, our master planning firm, Goody Clancy. And so I'd like to turn it over to Steve Carney now.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try a test because they went to the effort to wire me for this. Can people hear me well in the back, or should I stick to this? Can everyone hear me? Okay, looks good. One thing, thank you so much for coming. At the next meeting, we will have more tables because, again, as the mayor said, this is for us to begin to learn from you. And so everybody who does not fit at a table, we have extra material to you. And let's go back to this one to be on the safe side. And so I want, the point of tonight is to get everyone's individual input and input as a group. And so, we will work to make this work. Next meeting, we will have more tables. Again, Goody Clancy, we are an urban planning and architecture firm. We have worked on a number of projects, and in particular, we've worked on a number of choice neighborhoods projects, and we are very excited by them. It goes beyond the traditional urban planning, where we are really just looking at the physical redevelopment, and it really starts to speak to, how can we improve the quality of life of the residents who are here. So again, on this slide, this is San Antonio Housing Authority. We were very excited to be the planning participants on this. We actually switched mid-planning into implementation. With the implementation, NOFA came out, and we actually were successful in getting a $30 million award for San Antonio for the Housing Authority. So in that instance, we went from planning to implementation success in about a year and just over a year, actually. Pretty amazing. The slides I have tonight are about Goody Clancy and about the projects that we've been involved in, particularly I've been involved in choice neighborhoods, because I want to talk about where we've been successful, and I want you as a group to start thinking about how that can actually apply here in Richmond. So in general, in addition to San Antonio, we've been in Baltimore on the first round of the choice neighborhoods planning. We are just finishing that up. As Rob mentioned, we are submitting an implementation application this fall and working on that one right now. Columbus, Near East, also just finishing up that planning effort. They also are going towards implementation. I'm going to use them as an example because I think it tells an important story that I want to start tonight. And again, San Antonio and Shreveport, the efforts that we've been involved in. What we, again, really like about choice neighborhoods, and again, I said this, it goes just beyond the physical, the streetscapes, some of the amenities you see and you talk about when you read a comprehensive plan. It delves right into some of the much tougher issues, the education, workforce development, health and wellness, health care, all of these issues that become increasingly important. These need to actually guide the planning, and you'll see, and I'm going to emphasize this over the next few slides, this is how we intend to start this effort. So I will be talking less about traditional planning tonight and more about let's find out what the residents of this community need. And then our work will be at a later phase, once we understand that, we'll start to think about the physical so that it can respond to these needs. But again, Choice Neighborhoods has come out of Hope 6. Hope 6 was about creating mixed income housing. Choice Neighborhoods does the same, but it's about transforming an entire neighborhood. Again, it is comprehensive in all aspects of this, because as we've learned, first and foremost, it comes down to the people, and probably, if you're talking about people, it is their health. I'm skipping ahead, but I wanted to get just to this slide just to make a point. Increasingly, it's harder and harder to separate health from where somebody lives, where somebody grows up. Increasingly, as we develop plans for neighborhoods, we have to understand this, and we have to work, from probably the health and wellness at the top, and it means all of these different initiatives that I'll begin to speak about. But again, just at how everybody's beginning to look at, making healthy neighborhoods. Just to give one example, and this is our Baltimore project. When you look at the major causes of death, the major diseases, in our neighborhood that we're working in, they have higher rates in all categories. Neighborhoods are not equal when it comes to health, and this is where we'll begin with efforts. We need to approach this head on, and again, it's also coming down to neighborhoods, and the slide talks about neighborhood culture. I used this once before, and I need to explain neighborhood culture. Neighborhood culture is a place where families have been in for a long time. Grandparents are in the neighborhood, parents are in the neighborhood, children are in the neighborhood. In these high culture neighborhoods, children actually have higher attendance rates at schools. Children actually go on to education, and incomes for all levels, this study took place in Philadelphia over 10 years, increased in these neighborhoods of high culture, where there was a history, where families stayed and children came back to. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about a transformation of a neighborhood, and this is why. And I'll turn around, but again, the economic opportunity. Now, almost all jobs, it's going to require a college education, and that's the line going up on this chart. So again, we can talk about what people say bricks and mortar, but what we really need to talk about are how are we going to fix the schools so that our students get educated and can match the work world that is constantly changing in the United States. And again, same slide. The final trend that is important, and I'm only going to touch on tonight, many of you probably know this, but again, it's important to note, and it will impact all of our planning, and that is opinions have changed across the country. The millennials and the baby boomers are coming back to cities. Downtowns, we've already seen it. In many cities, we're seeing the nearby neighborhoods are starting to change as well. 10, 15 years ago, people were interested in golfing. People are now interested in walkable environments, living near restaurants, being able to get out of their car, not give up their car, but get out of their car and walk around in their neighborhoods. These are what are increasingly becoming more popular, and they will only continue to do so. It's an opportunity that all cities in the United States have right now that they didn't have 15 or 20 years ago. So a number of plans that may not have worked then are going to work now, and that is something that we need to focus on. It's something very important that we need to look at. I could go on and on with the statistics, particularly the fact that the younger generation is not as interested in driving as they used to be. And again, these slides, as I'll go quickly, show that. What was 20 years ago focused primarily on suburban. Now you're looking at urban neighborhoods are increasing in population. This creates a market. It's a market that we need to learn about in Richmond. We don't know all of the facts yet. That's our job. That's what we'll be doing over the next couple of months. But when we understand the market, the capacity, we can really start to shape an achievable vision, achievable plan for this neighborhood. But you have changing demographics, changing trends in your favor. Now again, Rob alluded to this, but as we do all of this planning, we have to prioritize the residents' needs. That is what Choice Neighborhoods is all about. And again, that is what we'll be looking at. And that talks about one-for-one replacement, creating an opportunity where if you're redeveloping, residents only need to move once. All of these strategies will come out in this plan, but we also need to hear from your end what's important, where, how, what we need to do. And again, from the very beginning today to the end of this, the one thing I will promise is that we will run a transparent planning process. We need to be here constantly. We will be here constantly. We have to be. We will be making decisions. Every decision we make, you will know about. When we make major decisions, that will be at a large workshop. We'll do it here in a public setting. We'll work. Doors will be open. It'll be a studio environment, so anyone can participate. We want everyone to participate, but we want more than anything for people to understand that the voices, the opinions, everything they're writing down is getting incorporated into this plan, that it is, in fact, a community-driven plan, and at every step you'll have the opportunity to comment, to put your advice, to prioritize. You'll know what's coming. If there's a surprise, we've made a mistake, and we'll assure you that we'll always talk about where we're going in this planning effort. That's critical. And again, I should have said that while I had this slide up. This was one of our favorite comments from San Antonio. But the fact is, if we come in and make the decisions for you, we're not going to have a successful process. There's always going to be give and takes. I will always, throughout this, talk about achievable visions, feasible, implementation. Can it be done? Where can we get to? What that means. But the fact of the matter is, all of that is based first and foremost on what the community is asking for and what the community is telling us that they need. And then we respond to that. And that's how this plan will emerge over the next 18 months. And we'll work as fast to bump that up because we want to be a little bit ahead of the game, particularly if an opportunity comes along. I'm just going to run through this, and this is because, Columbus, there's many similarities to the neighborhoods. This is Columbus, near east side of Columbus. And I want to talk about it because it's a real story of a development strategy, and that is what we are going to do and what we're going to work on over the next 18 months. OSU, Ohio State University, they had an opportunity to invest, and there's a number of reasons for it. They had $10 million to invest in a neighborhood. Their university is not in this neighborhood. It was a deal that the mayor worked with the university. He identified this neighborhood. It was a priority of the mayor's, just like this neighborhood, and OSU agreed to $10 million. We came along and began the process. Now, the fact of the matter is, $10 million is a lot of money. The fact of the matter is, at 800 acres, $10 million may not be enough money to do what everybody needs to be done. And so that's where we started. They organized what had become a nonprofit. We turned into a nonprofit, but a group between the Housing Authority of the city and OSU called PACT. Here are some pictures of this being a kickoff. But again, started with $10 million. Much like we'll do here, after many, many meetings, we came up with a site plan with an area of, who was going to do what. We identified the opportunities, then we assigned those opportunities to the right implementer. In this case, some were the city, some were OSU, and obviously the Housing Authority. That's what we'll do here. We'll find out what can happen, we'll find out who the implementer is, and we'll develop the strategies by which they can implement the action steps and lead the implementation. What is already happening from this? Again, OSU and as a partner, focused on health. And I should take one step back. We had a long list of partners. They're all going to play a role. That's something we want to learn too. I bet many partners are represented here, but let's identify who we should really be talking to. Again, focus on education and health. We worked with the schools to reconfigure the schools within this neighborhood to be focused on science, technology, but also be focused on medicine and careers in health that could then be provided by OSU Medical Center. And so the curriculum all the way through high school is focused on health, the health profession, to create the opportunities. It's just one example. We will have different ones here, but it was one that worked and additional funding could be made because it was a priority of OSU. On this slide, as I said, development strategy. We started with $10 million and we knew we could build part of this. The $10 million, again, leveraged, and I'll turn around, but it's talking about, 75 market rate and mixed income housing that is, using part of the $10 million to leverage private funds to build that. The Housing Authority was creating senior housing adjacent to the hospital with only a park in the middle with a walking path so that the seniors had direct walkable access to the hospital. And again, that was a Housing Authority project. This effort is leading to what is now the Choice Neighborhoods implementation application, which is We'll hopefully succeed in bringing $30 million additional of funding that will be matched again by local housing authority and other funding to bring in. Now we're talking roughly $90 million total investment within this first phase, and I'll jump ahead. Once that, we have other adjacent properties that the city owns that there is, frankly, and I'll be honest, no developer interest on these properties yet. We tried early, we didn't succeed in engaging a partner. Therefore, we're looking at phase 3. They're directly adjacent to $100 million in investment. When that occurs, those sites are going to be valuable. I'm going to take my jacket off at the end of this too as I watch people fan. That was a smart idea. But again, this is what we're going to talk about tonight. We've got the East End area neighborhood, and we've got Churchill North. We know areas where we're going to start. We already have the beginnings of a development strategy put together. What you have here with the community builders was something we didn't even have in Columbus, that the fact that you've got the developer at the table now. Implementation is on the minds right from the very beginning, and it will continue to be so. So I'm going to essentially end very quickly with just a quick calendar of where we're at. We're in the learning phase right now, analysis phase, learning phase. We're pulling together information. You can see it on the maps that we've already presented for this meeting, but we don't know anything really yet. And that's something I want to focus on. We're going to learn first from the residents and from the work that's already been done. We're reviewing the plans. We'll take that, we'll do the market analysis, we'll pull it all together. Come this fall, we'll be back. We'll have done our homework. We'll have ideas based on what we've learned tonight and the other work that we've done, and we'll present them back to you. This is when it becomes more intensive, that we're working together side by side. You tell us we got it right or we didn't, and there's a lot of conversations that need to take place as we put this together. That is in the synthesis phase of this, and probably the most critical. And again, from a community engagement part of this, absolutely the most critical. We can't leave the synthesis phase without full support from the community. We won't and we can't. And that's how we'll work through this. Once we know we're on the right track, we get sign-off, then we go into the production phase. You'll see a little bit less of us at that point, only because we're now working. We're taking everything that we've put together, and we are developing the roadmaps, the comprehensive plan documents. We're ensuring that all of the strategies that we've laid out can be achieved. We've identified the partners, and we have sign-off, hopefully in actual terms of real initiatives, be it funding or different programs, such as changes within the schools. But again, that is where we produce the plan. Within that is the transformation plan roadmap for the neighborhood with all of the identified partners with their role so that we can go forward. We'll have metrics determined for each of these efforts so that we know where we need to get to, and we've all agreed on that. That is essentially a Choice Neighborhoods planning effort. But I'll end with the fact, as I started, that it's about the residents, about the people first, and that's really what we want to hear about tonight. So I will have you organize on the, on the maps today, priorities based on the categories of Choice Neighborhoods, which is neighborhood, which is housing, which is people. And in people, it's different education opportunities or challenges, workforce development opportunities and challenges, health and wellness opportunities and challenges. Are there particular issues here that are worse than others that we need to know about, that we should look into? Are there partners that aren't playing large enough role that could, that potentially underutilized? These are the information that we want to begin to learn tonight. And so, with that, I actually think I caught myself back up on the time for tonight. It's really, we're spending the next hour listening from the residents. At the end of this, the residents will have an opportunity from each table and each group that we'll pull together to report back and have a real open discussion so we can hear. But right now, the first exercise I'm going to do is on every table, and we will hand out to everybody who is not at a table, because we should have enough copies for everyone, and a pen. The issues, what's the great things about the neighborhood, the best, and and we know there are challenges, but we need to hear from each of you, what are the challenges. I know planning fatigue is an issue. It's an issue in every city we work in. keep in mind that what I want and what I'll say is a little bit different about this is think more about quality of life of residents and what the people really need, and what are the opportunities and the challenges from that side of it. We will get to the physical later on, but when you're thinking about the neighborhood, it's probably, safe streets so I can walk on those streets. I feel comfortable walking at night. There's lights on the streets so that it's a safe environment at night. These are what we're looking for in terms of housing, high quality housing. Housing that is one floor because I don't want stairs, housing that's single family because I've got a growing family, and that's what I'm looking for. Grocery stores, do we have the right mix of retail in this neighborhood? Because all we have are fast food, it's not healthy. These are the issues and the opportunities we want to start to develop tonight, and then we want to start categorizing them by these new headlines so that we can truly develop a people-first approach to this and then move into the physical as we go into this. We certainly will get there, but we'll start with that. So I'm going to stop talking, and hopefully you'll start writing. That's the final thing I'll say, and I'll say it a lot throughout this. If you don't write down on the piece of paper, then I won't be able to bring it back and record it and put it up so that everyone can see what's happened. So I know sometimes people want to talk and not write, but for the next 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, just write down, brainstorm on your own. You're going to bring it up with the group that you're sitting with and talk about it, but do a quick brainstorming so that we can get each individual's, what they think is the best thing about this neighborhood and what they think are the challenges with the neighborhood. And the final thing I'll say, as you're working through that, and as we go through the rest of this, there is a piece of paper on every table, and we'll also hand this out, and it's a headline. We often talk about creating a story as part of this, learning everyone's stories and creating a story, or vision. It's another word for vision, but a story. So it's a headline for the newspaper in 10 years. What is the headline for this neighborhood? Think about that, because as you leave tonight, I want as many people to write down a vision, and we'll bring these back and you'll see them, and we'll start to shape them into one unified vision. So with that, I will stop and we'll start working, and I'm going to work with my teammates to make sure everyone has the piece of paper that they need. So if you don't have it, we're going to start going around with a pen. Everybody at a table, you've got it in front of you. Everyone who's out, you can even start to group together, but this is an individual exercise so that we can capture as many voices as possible. Thank you. We'll take some.
Just one brief announcement. Any city staff, RRHA staff who's sitting at tables, if you all could move from the tables, we can stand up and help assist. We want to make sure that we got the community residents at a table. So if there's any staff person at a table, could you please give your seat for residents who are here so they can engage in this process? Thank you.